All right, with the fourth lesson of this Unit 3, we're going to talk about mostly the war in Europe. So, as always, make sure you're listening for the causes and effects of this World War II and what it had for the United States. And in this lesson in particular, the causes that led to the end of World War II in Europe. So it's worth noting, right out of the gate of World War II, these allies, had different ideas on what they were going to do in World War II. Hitler wanted to take over most of known Europe. Mussolini wanted to restore the glory of the Roman Empire, which those two lands actually intersect a little bit. And then Hideki Tojo, Hirohito, the people from Japan, they wanted to just take over the Pacific Islands and Asia. So really, the United States was really no big threat of being invaded, say. But the Allies, they had the common goal right out of the gate. They wanted to take out Germany first. They were seen as the bigger threat, and then they would worry about the Pacific and Japan later. So you're going to notice Army is going to go to Europe. The Marines are going to go to the Pacific. So true or false, the Axis powers had a unified goal in World War II. So the European theater, term used for fighting in Europe, Hitler knew that he could not let the United States and their supplies make their way to Europe and the coastline to flood those resources in. So he went back to an old trick of World War I, of submarine warfare. What he did not know is the amount of supplies that we were taking on ships and throwing them onto boats and getting them across the Atlantic as fast as we could. So it did not work. Plus, we had new technologies at our disposal. We had sonar, which is like underwater radar, and we had depth charges that would take out those submarines whenever we detected them so they couldn't sink us. So, where this is all going to start hitting a major problem from Hitler, not being the student of history that he actually made a very big boo boo in world history. He attacked the Soviet Union in the middle of winter, which is something you do not do. Okay, Napoleon could not do it. The only people that could were the Mongols, and they were fierce warriors back in the day. But Germany was not prepared. They did not have the materials. They did not have the clothes. They did not have the supplies. And you're going to notice that at the end of them trying to invade and breaking that deal that he made with Stalin, 91,000 Nazi soldiers are actually going to basically be given up. So you can see that bottom picture, how many people that is. That is a lot. And it's snaking all the way off the picture. And the Nazis are going to take a big loss on the northern part of Africa. So this top guy, Erwin Rommel, he is in charge of Germany's army, I guess you would say, on the northern part of Africa. And we are going to put our best generals to take him out. So bottom picture, you see George S. Patton, and then person on the right, his name is Dwight D. Eisenhower, future president of the United States. Our two generals are going to outmaneuver Erwin Rommel and take over that northern coastline because we wanted to make our way to Italy and go up through to Europe through the boot, if you will. But when all this fighting is done and we make our way across the northern part, you're going to see that 240,000 German soldiers are actually going to either be surrendered, are going to be lost, while Erwin Rommel basically gets back up to Germany without being caught. So next question, why did the United States want to control the northern coastline of Africa? So when we were actually able to get into Italy, you're going to notice it was slow going, but it wasn't because of our supplies or anything like that. It was more or less the weather just didn't cooperate. It was really wet and it was just basically horrible fighting conditions. And you're going to notice that once we actually were able to get into Italy, Mussolini is going to be able to escape and he has help from his friend Hitler. But this was a very big get for us because now we actually have boots on the ground in Italy. And while that is happening, our big three, or the good guys' big three of FDR, Winston Churchill, and Joseph Stalin, are going to agree to get Germany to fight a two-front war. And how are we going to do that? Is to invade in France. So the big three is actually going to change after FDR dies, which I already talked about. But when you notice that when this meeting is going to happen, Winston Churchill was very reluctant to do this because he saw the failures of World War I, and he was very what didn't have a whole lot of confidence in Great Britain's army. Navy, yes. Air Force, yes. Army, not so much. And then Joseph Stalin basically said, I'll hold down the East while you guys are doing all that in the West. But they knew that they had to get rid of Germany first. So when this all goes down, you're going to notice that Germany did have to fight a two-front war because of it. But the question is, with Italy secured, where did the big three agree to invade next? So, when that invasion of France actually takes place, it's going to happen on June 6th of 1944. So this is 3 years-ish after World War II is going to start, the bombing of Pearl Harbor, and now we're actually making a lot of headway in Europe. So Operation Overlord, the official name of this action, is going to be a brainchild of Dwight D. Eisenhower, one of the better military minds we have ever had in the United States. So he is going to actually have about 1 million-ish people under his command, because he is the command of all the good guys in all their countries. And you're going to notice that D-Day is going to involve a lot more than just the United States. So here's a picture to show where we were going to go. We were going to go on Omaha Beach, and you can see on the map here that this is going to be one section of it. And the reason why we only wanted to focus on one section, because we knew we were going to take heavy, heavy losses. These other ones, we did not. Utah Beach, Gold Beach, Juno Beach, and Sword Beach, we did not really want to invest a whole lot of materials into it because we knew that we were putting all our eggs in one basket in this Omaha Beach. And we knew that we had to basically just push through the muck, I guess you would say, to get Germany to surrender this one part of the coastline. So here's a little bit better picture. So we actually set up shop on the Great Britain, which is at the top here. And you're going to notice that we are going to attack all of those different spots at once. And we actually played a pretty good trick on Germany. We told them we were going to attack somewhere that we weren't going to. So that way they had a lot of supplies and forces in one spot, and then we kind of hit another spot, if that makes sense. So here is, once we actually got onto the beach, the obstacles that people faced. So you notice these like little not ramp, but like stick-like things. That's what prevented boats from rolling up on the coast. And then you see they have barbed wire, they had running through sand and the deep water. And this was a big feat. If you've ever seen the first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, if you haven't, you can look it up on YouTube. It was brutal. So we took a lot of losses, but necessary losses. So here is, at the end of D-Day, how much stuff we were able to get into France and get into Europe now. So you can see the boats kind of off in the ocean there. The question here, the official name given to D-Day was? And this is known as the longest day. And I'm going to show you a graphic here in a little bit that's going to explain why. But because of the actions or the effects of D-Day, you're going to notice that we're going to get control of 80 miles of coastline. That doesn't seem like a lot, but 80 miles is a lot for us to be able to flood 155,000 troops into parts of France in that one day. And then now, again, forcing Germany to split their forces up, fighting the Soviet Union on the east, and then now the Americans on the west. So when it comes down to it, we knew that the small sacrifice was for the greater good. We lost 4,900 soldiers, and that is a lot. That is a lot, a lot, a lot. But when you just outsupply and basically flood just time after time and of boats of men that are working their way through, eventually Germany's going to run out of supplies. So that's kind of why it worked. The vast volume of people. So here is why it's known as the longest day. We started at midnight the night before, and before 7:30, we were actually able to take control of the coastline because we wanted to hit them early. And then obviously by the end of the day, all the supplies that we had onto the beach, that's why it's known as the longest day. So question, the effect of the success of D-Day was? And then once we were able to get into France and we were able to start the whole liberation, we were able to work our way across France fairly easily, working up into Belgium, and eventually we'll tell the Soviet Union, we'll meet you in Berlin. So the one battle that's worth noting is the Battle of the Bulge. This was Germany's like last ditch effort. And what they did is that we had a wide line of working our way towards Berlin. And what Germany did is they took all of their forces and tried to break through that line to get to our supplies on the other side. But it didn't work. We bent, but we didn't break. So, why this is all such a big deal is because you're going to notice that this was Germany's last real big loss. Because once this all went down, Hitler actually went into hiding and he actually became very paranoid. He used to do a lot of drugs to make himself kind of hyper all the time, meth in particular. And it basically just drove him to be paranoid. And then he eventually ended his own life. So, this ultimately led to the end of the war in Europe because once Hitler basically killed himself, you're going to notice that Germany's kind of walking around like a lost puppy and they don't really know what to do. And everybody in Germany was just so sick of this war at this point, and they were just out of supplies and back to World War I all over again. So we declared victory in Europe on May 7th. So the question is, Adolf Hitler, how did he die?